In English, the word whelm, we use the word overwhelm. We don't usually use the word whelm. It's an old English word. To whelm meant to be totally immersed in. If you go through the baptism training that we do here, or instruction, and as a quick side note, this August we will gather once again, probably out at Raccoon Creek State Park, to baptize those who want to follow the Lord's command to be baptized. And if you're interested in following the Lord's command in that way, come see me, and we'll be having some classes to make sure you're prepared and know what you're getting into. But in that class, I say whelming is the word that they would use to if you took you had a big bowl of punch, and you took your cup and you dipped it down into the punch to fill it up with punch. You were whelming it. You were totally immersing it. So to whelm already means to be totally immersed in. But now the word is overwhelmed. Lord, when my soul is overwhelmed, I'm just not in the soup. I am just at the bottom of the soup. And my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Now, David was a great warrior. He was a general. And you would want to be in a battle in the high ground. You wanted to be on solid ground. The place of safety. The place where you could see what's really going on. You're not down in the midst of the battle and not seeing all of the strategy going on. He says, Lord, when I am overwhelmed. Now the Hebrew word that's translated overwhelmed there actually means to be shrouded. To be covered with a shroud. When I'm in the dark. When I am overwhelmed. Lord, lead me to that rock that is higher than I am. I can only see so much. You know, in Pittsburgh, there are very few places you can be and you can see the horizon. You got to find a hill and get on top of it. When I lived out west, one of the first things that struck me was, man, these sunsets seem to last forever. Because there's just so much horizon out in the desert that it seems like it takes 2 hours for the sun to set. It's just amazing. And I realized I don't really see it like that in Pittsburgh. You see the sun go down behind the house that's next door, or all the trees, or the hills over there, whatever. You don't see that long sloping horizon until you get up in the high ground. You find yourself in a high area. And that's where David wants to be. I want to be in a place that's higher than I am. I don't want to deal with this at my level. I want to be, Lord, when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock, the place where I can set my feet and I know they're there. And I'm not going to be moved. Solid place to see what's really going on. Because you know what? We deal with situations according to our knowledge. But our knowledge is limited. God's knowledge is unlimited. He knows. He knows. Psalm 62 says, truly my soul silently waits for God. From Him comes my salvation. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved. How long will you attack a man? You shall be slain, all of you, like a leaning wall and a tottering fence. Notice the change in tone here. It's not God, go zap them. It's, hey, you enemies out there, you don't have a chance. You're like a fence that's about to fall down. Because God is my salvation. They only consult to cast him down from his high position. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly, Selah. My soul, wait silently for God alone. Now notice in verse 1 he says, truly my soul silently waits for God. That's what I'm doing. But in verse 4, he's talking to himself. He says, my soul, wait silently for God alone. Because when we're in that situation of difficulty, surrounded by enemies, we can start out with our soul waiting silently for the Lord. And then after a while, we don't hear something to our liking. Our soul might not be so silent anymore. But David says, no, soul, keep waiting silently for God alone. For my expectation is from Him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. In God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God. Trust in Him at all times, you people. Pour out your heart before Him. God is a refuge for us. Surely men of low degree are a vapor. Men of high degree are a lie. If they are weighed on the scales, they're altogether lighter than vapor. Do not trust in oppression or vainly hope in robbery. If riches increase, do not set your heart on them. God has spoken once, twice I've heard this, that power belongs to God. And also to you, O Lord, belongs mercy, for you render to each one according to his work. There's a place you can find yourself in difficulty where you are trusting in what God will do. You're trusting in what God will do. And you are trusting in what your perception of what God will do. You are trusting in your opinion of what God should do. You're trusting in your assessment of what God should do. And you've probably informed Him about it several times in prayer about what God should do. But that's not where David is. He says, my expectation is from you. My expectation is not what I expect to happen. My expectation is that God will show Himself mighty and strong. God does that in ways sometimes that are very unlike what we would expect, what we would choose, what we would want. And yet, I can tell you in 35 years of seeing God move personally in my life, that though His answers to prayer have not always been what my prayer request was, in every situation He answered mightily. And His way was better than my way. And His thought and plan was better than my thought. And that's what the psalmist David is saying here. He's saying, I'm just going to shut up. My soul waits silently for the Lord. I'm just going to be quiet and watch what God does. Because I know He's going to do something. I know He is because I know who He is. You see, that's where we will find our strength. In faith in God. Faith is something today that is a word thrown around in so many ways. And sometimes that word faith has to do with, I have faith in what God is going to do. Because I know He's going to do this because that's what I prayed and that's what I confessed or that's what I want or whatever. And I have faith in what God is going to do because this is what He's going to do. And what happens when that's not God's plan and that's not what He does? It's shattering. Put your faith in God. Put your faith in who He is. He has shown Himself that He is righteous and holy and merciful and gracious and full of loving kindness. So trust what He will do. Trust whatever it is. Trust Him. Don't trust in the action that you expect from Him. My expectation is from the Lord, David says.